Hi, this is Terry. Welcome back to my channel. Today's topic is going to be a little bit tough, but I think the last few episodes have been on some tough topics as well. I'll try to keep it light where I can, but the truth is that here in the US, we live in a racist, sexist, xenophobic, queerphobic, ableist, ageist, did I get them all right?
Yeah.
Society.
Well, I mean, you got all the ones on the list that we have, although there are probably more that we can't think of.
Exactly. So just our bigger problem is that we struggle with people who are not like us. It's called, I think, othering or something to that extent. This is a fact. And I'm no longer going to be arguing with people on social media saying, please educate yourself on the reality of what it is that we're living in. Just because you don't want it to be true does not mean that it isn't. And just because you aren't, or you're not aware of your biases or your prejudices, does not make these things untrue. And I'm as guilty as everyone else of having thoughts that I have to catch myself on and go, okay, take a step back. I've talked about this before. What I have been struggling with lately is that my focus the last couple of years specifically has been on supporting, advocating for, and expanding and increasing the power of women in this country. Women make up over 50% of the population here in the United States, and the companies, the leaderships don't represent it. Our country's leadership doesn't represent it. The amount of money that is controlled, the decisions on what gets funded, what exists in our society, is not representative of over half the population being women. And what I've struggled with the last couple of days is, in light of everything that's going on with Black Lives Matter, all of us, as many people that I know who are standing in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, who are protesting the police brutality and the killing, the unnecessary killing of Black people by our police departments, is that right now it feels like this is the country's shiny object. And we in the United States struggle with being able to focus on more than one thing at a time. And right now there's more than just systemic and institutional racism and police brutality against Black people in the United States happening. We still have issues with all of the other things that I was talking about. And I've really struggled, and I know I've said this the last couple of days, with how to talk about the fact that there's more than just this going on without appearing tone deaf, insensitive, and as if I'm ignoring the significance and magnitude of the problems we have with racism in this country. And I don't want that to come across at all, because it's an and. When I focus on women, the 50% of our population, I got this statistic from Suki, with Suki Candle Company the other day, and she said that 13% of the US population is Black. And so of that percentage, I'm focusing on the women in that. I mean, of course, I'm going to support the men as well, but my focus really is on expanding the power and influence of women and making sure that we don't get lost in all of the other things that are going on in this country right now. We have a problem in the White House and in the federal government, in the Senate right now, in governors in some the states. We have a serious problem. I mean, I think we have a fascist in the White House who may not, hopefully he loses in November, and we have to work really hard to make sure that happens. So this is an and. We have to work hard to change the leadership in this country. And there's fear that, when he loses, let's make sure that happens, that he may not leave the White House peacefully. that this may be the first time, I think, in U.S. history that we will not have a peaceful handover of power. And that's scary. It's an and. There's so much that's going on right now, and I want so much for the racism and the systemic problems that we have with our police departments changed. And I want to make sure that we are putting women in leadership powers, that we in leadership positions, that we are putting women on boards, that we are putting women as CEOs of companies, that we are funding women-led businesses, that we are focusing on using our economic power to support these companies, to support these initiatives, to support organizations that support women, in addition to supporting all of the other things that are going on right now. Women still suffer. We are still paid less. We still get less funding. We still suffer abuse. We are suffering right now with COVID. Oh, by the way, COVID is still going on, even though it feels like that we've lost sight of that with all that's going on. And as I said the other day, our choice to go protest in downtown Redwood City, because our own personal health and safety and that of our community was less important than the health and safety of the Black people in our country. That was more important. And then also standing up for what we believe to be right and just in terms of the leadership within our country, which is not what's happening right now. So with COVID, women with children are having to quit their jobs because childcare has pretty much gone away for a lot of these families, and camps aren't necessarily available. And I'm seeing post after post and article after article about women who are having to choose to stay home. They're not even given the choice. They have to stay home in order to take care of their children. And this is going to set women back, and this is going to set all women back a long time, because the penalties associated with having a gap in your career, the penalties build over time. So taking a short gap, and then that means you're missing out on opportunities. If you're in technology or something else, you have a hard time getting back in and getting that next position. Not to mention that you're not necessarily putting money into Social Security or able to put money away into retirement. I mean, the financial penalties end up being huge. What I'm talking about should not be, or my position shouldn't be construed as an all lives matter. That's not where I'm coming from. I do not want to distract from the importance of Black Lives Matter and supporting everything that is going on with those initiatives. I'm just reminding you and everyone else that it's an and we can work collectively. We can use our experience, we can use our knowledge, we can use our economic power, we can use our voting power. We're capable of focusing on more than one thing at a time. And right now it's more critical than ever that we focus on the ands and not see it as and or. And right now it's especially difficult when a lot of people are suffering economically because of COVID. People have lost people. Not everybody can get together with other people, can't support their loved ones the same way. There's a lot that's going on, but I have confidence in our ability as Americans, especially, to be able to come together to really do what's right and just to create a more socially, economically, politically equitable society. So I challenge you to focus on more than one thing. If you have opportunities to hire, make sure that you are really being intentional about the inclusion of more people who may or may not look like you. And it's interesting, and I'll be wrapping this up because I'm going to try to keep these under 10 or 11 minutes rather than approaching 18. I've seen so many posts by companies saying, we stand in solidarity, we're with you, we're all about diversity and inclusion. And it's just feeling like rhetoric. It doesn't feel like any sort of action. So if you have the ability to influence and take action within those companies, start doing it. There are a lot of different people who are doing some really great things, and it should not be that difficult to find programs and initiatives to implement within your companies to make a difference. I've seen a lot of VCs. There's one in particular, a white male VC, who said, oh my God, I hadn't even known that there was this big of a problem. And he was speaking specifically about the lack of diversity or the lack of Black people being funded that are in VC, who are making decisions and access. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And I am sure that this guy, when we've been dealing with Me Too and trying to get awareness around the lack of representation and funding for women, apparently we didn't put the right pressure, because I am sure that he didn't see that. And his response was so incredibly, using this term again, tone deaf. And I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? You really, you have not seen any of this. And it's really a matter of choice. And I think he's chosen not to because of his place of privilege. And he, you know, whether it's education, access to capital, the circles, what the color of his skin, he has not had to. And right now, because of Black Lives Matter, because of all the protesting that is happening and the noise that is being made and the noise that should be made around this in order to affect change, and change is being affected, he's finally paying attention. And that is infuriating, that it took all of this to get someone like him to see. And now it's just feeling like it's bandwagony. But I am hoping that he uses his position and his influence and his capital to really make a difference, and that this does not go away anytime soon. I exchanged emails with Suki, with Suki's Candle Company. I promoted her in the challenge, and she said, you know, thanks for your support. My concern is that this is something that is short term, that the interest in this is going to go away in terms of supporting Black women-owned businesses. And my skeptical response was, yeah, I'm with you. Unless we can keep the pressure on, we're not going to see that this is going to be sustained. The optimist in me is hopeful that we can begin to change our behaviors, whether it's in spending, paying attention to things, looking at things more critically, that we can have a sustained positive response associated with Black Lives Matter. And then I'm also hopeful that we can, at the same time, have a sustained response and positive response to making sure that we can expand the power and influence of women. So with that, Ray, got anything?
You've mentioned how you want to keep these videos under 10 or 11 minutes, you said. We are currently at 14 minutes and 14 seconds. Ooh, lucky number, make a wish. So let's wrap this up.
Okay.
I think I can cut it down to maybe 13.
Okay, let me
lucky.
Okay. I told you it was a tough subject. It was a big thing. So anyway, thank you for that. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. I appreciate this. If you think that this is something that somebody else needs to hear, please share this. I want to keep this dialogue going. I want us to keep the pressure on, and I want us to be focusing on and as we try to make a more equitable and just world for all. So with that, let go of perfection. Sorry, Ray. Take some risks, and above all else, have some fun.
And take a nap.
And wash your hands. Still, wash your hands.
And wash your hands,
and
but also take a nap.
And wear a mask.
Yeah, but naps.
Yeah, self-care. Anyway, thanks.